the SM Media Podcast Network.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Scottish Women's Football Show. I'm Scott McPike. It's always a pleasure to be your host, and we're recording this at I think it's just when, I think we're pretty much in the added time of the Women's Nations League Group A return game between Germany and Scotland. We'll talk about it in a minute. We've got a couple of things we'll talk about first before we look into that. It's always a pleasure to be joined by Laura McCulloch.
It's good to be back.
It's always a pleasure. It's a good week when you've got Player of the Week. I know it was me that gave you it, but it was like you must be happy. No,
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Good result for Renfrew. We'll get into that later on. Obviously, good position Renfrew are in at the moment. We'll touch on that later. Yes, I was kind of coming on here thinking it was going to be quite optimistic. For anybody that didn't know, Scotland were leading at 1-0 at half time in this game. Obviously, a bit of a bad showing on Thursday. Was it Thursday or
Friday night? I think it was.
Friday night. 4-0 at home. Germany were pretty deserving of it, to be honest. But I thought at half time, for what I saw the first half, Scotland were deserving of the lead. But Lauren, in the second half, from what I understand, the Germans kind of took Scotland to town a wee bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think it obviously doesn't help that I think on Friday, obviously, the Germans went ahead very, very quickly. So I think that's always kind of hard to get yourself back into a game, especially with a team of that quality. Once they get their noses in front, they don't really look like ever either dropping points or going behind at all. Tonight, it's just been, Scotland were great in the first half, and then a 16-minute absolute capitulation in the first half of the second half was just, I don't know what was going on. There was defensive calamities all over the shop.
What do we think, though? Because I had a conversation with somebody today about this, actually. Like, I cannot for the life of me understand why Nicola Docherty's not in the team. I think not only for her ability, but I think as a presence and a kind of leadership role, I think she's as important as anybody in that team. And to me, like, I don't think a back five works at all. And even against a team like Germany, but to me, like, she's the absolute pivotal piece of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. I think you do miss her when she's not there, I think, in terms of her experience and stuff. And you see that role she plays with Rangers week in, week out. I think, obviously, with Emma Lawton kind of shining at Celtic now, it was only kind of fair to give her an opportunity. I don't know if a back five is her preferred position either. Like
Probably
a wing back
not.
in a back five, I'm not sure. I don't know if it's because maybe Michael McArdle sees she's got the legs to kind of get up and down. Obviously, Rachel McLaughlin's on the other side. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a case of, right, you've got Rachel McLaughlin, you've got a bit of experience on one side, right, we'll maybe go a bit younger on the other. But I think in games against Germany, what they bring, I think experience probably takes the win over youth in this one.
We know Germany are a good side, and I don't think anybody realistic was thinking Scotland were going to win either of the games. Even at half time, you were thinking you would take a point straight away.
Aye. No, definitely.
But it's 10 goals in 2 games. I don't think anybody was thinking, no disrespect, Michael McArdle was going to get the job. But to me, it's like a massive, massive reality check of that. I think that's 5 defeats in a row now. It's not great. And it's for this squad and for these players, like we know they're playing at a high level, it's a really bad state of affairs at the moment for me.
Yeah, I just don't think anyone struck the balance of what system to play with the players that
No.
we've got. Like it's hard because you look at the squad. You've got your Claire Emsleys, your Caroline Weir's, Erin Cuthbert's, like top players. But for some reason, when it comes to the international stage, it just doesn't click. I don't know. Obviously, a new manager's going to come in. He's going to need he or she are going to have to come in and see what works to get the best out of the squad that they've got. Because right now it does look like a kind of team of individuals trying to make something work that's maybe not quite there.
It's similar to the men's situation. Like, there's a lot of really class players who are playing in top leagues, and for one reason or another, they just can't fit in the system. Now, with the men's team, I think the problem is coaching. With the women's team, obviously, we can't throw that excuse because it is an interim manager. But to me, like, that's one of the first things a new manager has to come in and do is sort, like, how do I make this work now? There's going to be top, to make it work, particularly at international level. It's not about fitting the best players into one team. It's fitting the system and who works, who fits in it. Like, for me, like, from looking at the 5-4-1 again, I haven't watched the game in the second half, but Lauren Davidson and Claire Emsley do not fit where they're playing. From what I can see, from what I've seen of to me, they're just shoehorned in to try and get them in to try and add try and add something different. But you can throw anybody you want. If they don't fit the system, it doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly. You can't shoehorn people, no matter how good they are, you can't shoehorn people into a system, into positions that they're not familiar with and expect it just to work straight away. Obviously there will be a bit of disappointment, I'm presuming, when the new manager comes in who maybe tries to get a system to work, leaving some people out and stuff. But it is just a case of trial and error until you find what fits. And I think obviously playing Lauren Davidson and Claire Emsley, I think it was Michael McCardle's way of saying, right, we're just going to go for it.
Yeah.
I think personally with the players on the pitch, it was a very attacking lineup as much as he played a back five. I think if you look at the players in the top end of the pitch, you've got your attacking firepower there with Kirsty Hansen obviously coming back in. Caroline Weir's already there. So that's four top players at the top end of the pitch, not adding into account Erin Cuthbert. So it's it isn't as you said, it's not about getting the best players in a team. It's what team fits the system the best, and that's what I think previous managers haven't really managed to make click.
Well, where do we go from here now? Because I'd imagine Michael McArdle, being in the role he's in at the SFA, will have some sort of role in picking the next manager. I think it is somebody like Leanne Ross or even like Grant Scott. I don't know if they'll take it. I don't know if they'll want it at this point in time. But to me, that to me is the kind of two names that are screaming out to me. But like, where do we go from here? Like, what do we need in a new manager?
I think you just need fresh ideas. If I'm being honest, I think obviously under Pedro it was kind of same old. For quite a while, it got to that point under Shelley Kerr as well as she did getting us to the World Cup in 2019. I think it just becomes you've run your course, but we seem to hang on for another wee year or so. So I think a definite someone with fresh ideas to freshen up the squad, freshen up the system won't go amiss. And I think that's what the SFA will be attempting to do. Who they go for will be interesting. Again, Leanne Ross and Grant Scott are doing phenomenally well at their club. So will they want to, take the risk where it doesn't look great. The Scotland job isn't very attractive at the minute. But it's just if they believe in themselves to go and do a job. So again, it's just a personal thing.
We were going to talk about the Women's Champions League. Obviously, we had games last weekend. Obviously, I was very interested in it and kind of what came about it. Like Arsenal, Chelsea, Barcelona, and Lyon all booked their place into the semi-finals. A very good standard of football. Lauren, obviously, it's a great advert for the game to see these four top teams going at it. Like, if I was to ask you for a winner and what you thought of the next few weeks, who would it be to win this tournament?
Well, I'm looking at the semi-final draw, and it's obviously Barca v Chelsea, which would have probably been my pick for the final, if I'm being honest. Then obviously Arsenal against Lyon. Uh, Barca are at home first, which I think might play to a slight disadvantage for them. But they're a phenomenally strong squad. I'm going to go Barca, but if Chelsea overcome Barca, I think Chelsea will go and win it.
I think it's hard to see Barca. Like, looking at the talent they've got, like
Yeah,
Pina's been unbelievable. Like Ella Pajo's good, really good as well. Like, they've got such a good strength on their side as well.
yeah,
And to do what they did to Wolfsburg, winning 6-1, second leg, I think they're a phenomenal team. Like, to me, they were so impressive, and we know the incredible talent that they have. But like Chelsea and Arsenal to get through where they have as well. Obviously, Chelsea beating Man City and Arsenal beating Real Madrid. Like, they're beating the right sides. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's some
yeah.
standard. Like, I've never seen the standard as good as it is now, and that's obviously, like, we saw Celtic, we saw the kind of realistic kind of thoughts that Celtic had when they were into it, but they come up against Chelsea and Real Madrid, and you've seen how much the gap is, but you see these elite sides, and they're just unbelievable.
Yeah, it is incredible. It's good to see how much it has grown. Obviously, Arsenal have kind of done a full circle, so
Hmm.
they were obviously really successful in the early kind of growth of women's football. Getting to Champions League finals, winning the WSL. They then obviously took a dip when Man City and Chelsea started to come to fruition a little bit. So to see them back in amongst the best is good to see. Coming back from a 2-0 and a 2-0 deficit against Real Madrid is no easy ask. So for them to go and win 3-0 in the second leg just really proved a point. And it was obviously the same with Chelsea against Man City, losing 2-0 in the first leg to then come back in the second.
We didn't have any league action this weekend, but obviously we'll go back to last weekend. We're not going to go game for game, but obviously we'll go to Friday night. City obviously winning against Celtic. I think it's a massive. I thought it was an uphill battle anyway for Celtic to have any sort of title contention. I think they're out the race now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it is a much bigger mountain to climb now. Obviously Hibs are sitting quite flying high on 60 points, Rangers 58, City now 57. So it would take a lot for them to get themselves back into it.
And obviously Hibs and Rangers both won last weekend. City obviously are still there as well. Probably, although Hibs and Rangers obviously won well, it probably that'll feel like a massive 3 points for City because they had for a wee while. Obviously, at that point in time, they were sitting top realistically. So
Yeah,
to go to Celtic and win, and then have the week off like that, to me, they'll probably feel like the winners of that weekend.
yeah, I'd agree 100%. It was a massive result for them. I think we said on the last episode that the winner of that would still be in with a shout
Yeah.
of the title. And I think it's safe to say City are still well within City's grasp.
At the other end of the table, Aberdeen and Spartans, obviously big results for them. Aberdeen won 2-1 away at Partick Thistle, and Spartans won 3-2 at home to Montrose. Aberdeen obviously puts them into seventh. They are on 27 points. Spartans, though, with that win, they're 6 points ahead of the relegation zone. Like Aberdeen, I thought were fine anyway, but Spartans, that'll be massive for them.
Yeah, that was a huge result for Spartans. That's definitely pulled them away, I would say, from the bottom three. I think 6 points from Montrose, as much as they've been on a decent run of form since the split, I think 6 points is a lot to claw back. So I think the bottom three we see now will be the three that will be dropping down to SPL2 next season.
Queen's Park obviously won. They beat Dundee United. It's probably damage limitation for them at the moment in terms of this season. But for anybody who isn't aware, there is a lot probably going to come out about Queen's Park over the next few days. There's a lot going on with Willie Hoy obviously pulling his money. There's a lot obviously in the men's situation. But something came out during the week about the Queen's Park are probably going to be making the decision to axe their women's team. Lauren, obviously terrible if that does happen. But for me, it kind of shows you just how much things can change in a year. Because 12 months ago, we had Craig Joyce on the show and we were talking about how Queen's Park could be a team to stay in this league. And now we're potentially talking about Queen's Park not being a team anymore. Like it's a
Yeah, I think
massive situation.
yeah, it's a complete kind of 180 flip of the script, but I think everyone knew it was going to be a challenge. Anyone going up from SPL2, it's going to be a tough ask to stay in SPL1 just with the gap in quality, the gap in finances, etc. But I think there was some real excitement when obviously Queen's Park got the new investment and their men's side, Leicester Hampden was starting to be built. There was a real excitement about the club. Obviously, the women's team moved to a more professional environment as well, which was really good to see. They started the league off not too badly as well. They got a couple of good results, kind of off the back of storming SWPL too. But to see that potentially now up in the air and them maybe not being an existent team in the leagues or in the top leagues, I'd imagine they'll have some sort of community that will maybe go into League One or the rec leagues to kind of build themselves back up. But if they were to get axed, I think it would be a real shame. And I'm not sure how that would work based on promotions, relegations. I'm not sure how that would affect that, but yeah, it's not nice to see.
I don't know personally. Like, I imagine that's something we'll probably find out later on. But like, imagine if they go away, it would either be two would go down as opposed to like Kilmarnock. I don't think it would mean like whoever's second in the SWPL two would come up kind of thing. I think it would be more kind of two would come down kind of thing. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, very interesting there, and obviously, like again, the players, staff, everybody as well. I know a lot of players that I've spoke to them as well, and I know how much the club means to them. I know how much they kind of recognise their own achievements, and it's just a difficult situation for everybody. But fingers crossed, whoever, like whatever happens, it works out the best for everybody. SWPL two, Lauren. I'm going to say it. I think now Hamilton look home and dry.
Yeah, I think so. I think 8 points clear now with there's not many games left. I don't see them dropping that many points if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And it's fully deserved. You know, they've been the most consistent over the course of the season. Yeah, they've had a couple of shaky results, but that happens. But no, I think they'll be more than happy to be back up into the top league and see what they can do because I feel around the club I think is that's where they think they belong. That's where they were for a long time. So it would be good to see them go up and hopefully challenge to stay in the league.
Kilmarnock and Boroughmuir obviously are neck and neck for second. Boroughmuir obviously won 2-0 last weekend against Rossfield. Kilmarnock were held to a 0-0 draw but got Cairn. Like it's hard to see past kind of Hamilton, but again, like both those sides, there will be a wee bit of a personal battle for second place, and they'll both want to obviously finish best in the rest.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well with the Queen's Park situation unfolding, you never know. They could introduce a playoff.
Yeah, possibly.
So I think finishing the season strong for both of those teams will be the priority. I think Kilmarnock will have a lot more what ifs than Boroughmuir, just with some of the points that they've dropped over the course of the season. Could have pulled them closer to Aki's, but yeah, I don't think you'll see either of the sides slowing down. And yeah, they will just want to finish best of the rest.
At the other end of the table, St Johnstone, I think, like again, another kind of big result for them. They've been a really good run as of late, and they obviously beat Ayr United 3-1. Rossvale obviously lost at Boroughmuir, and they're 12 points clear of the relegation playoffs. And again, you can't see past them. Like it's looking like Rossvale and Ayr are definitely going to be kind of battling out to avoid automatic relegation.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think we've been saying that for a couple of weeks now. It's going to be a two-horse race. Since there is only a point between them. I think they play each other. Not this weekend coming, but the following week down in Ayr. So
Yeah.
that'll be interesting. I think the winner of that, I think, will grab the playoff. Personally, so that's a massive game for them. That's a cup final. So it will be interesting to see what happens there. St Johnstone I've been really impressed with. I think they've turned their season round. They've recruited really well in January as well. So it's good to see them kind of home and dry. But yeah, it will be between Rossvale and there to see who goes down and who grabs that playoff place.
And whoever finishes bottom will definitely be replaced by East Fife because they are returning to the SWPL. They secured promotion with a 2-1 away win at Glasgow Women. And obviously, you know the league very well. They've been the best side in it, and they deserve to go back up.
Yeah, 100%. I think they finished last season even really strongly, and they kind of started as they meant to go on this season. They struggled with consistency last season. I think the start of their season kind of derailed them a little bit.
Yeah.
But this season they've just been really consistent in their play. They know what they want to do, and they went out and achieved it. So yeah, they more than deserve to win the league.
And Renfrew probably, to be honest, since you've come in, probably one of the form teams in the league. Like you've made an impact.
I wouldn't say that. They were doing well before, long before I joined. But no, I think yeah, it's really competitive. I think looking at it now, you know, there's Stirling Uni on 45, us in we're on 44 now.
Been a really
Glasgow Girls and
it's been
Falkirk
a
on
really
41
exciting league. I've
and
really
Inverness on
enjoyed it.
39. So it's always been tight the whole season. It's been really tight. Obviously coming into the last few games now, it's getting down to the kind of nitty gritty, and I think it is just a case of who can take the most points in the split. Will get that playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. Dryborough won 11-0 at home to Hutchison Vale in the bottom half of the table. Forfar beat Steny 3-2. Obviously, with the league as well, like Westite 2, Morton 2. From what I understand, I think the bottom two, well, I think the bottom club automatically goes down. I think second bottom goes into a playoff. Is that right?
Yeah, it's the exact same situation.
Okay.
So I think Hutchie will be going down and West Dyke will be playing either
Yeah,
Bonnyrigg or Armadale by the looks of it.
I would imagine so. But Bonnyrigg and Armadale both won at the weekend in League One. Bonnyrigg won 2-0 at Inverurie. Armadale won 4-3 at home to Dunny Pace. And St Mirren won 5-1 at home to Queen of the South. Like, it's looking quite tight between the top two, Bonnyrigg and Armadale. Like, it's got the shapings for a really fascinating end to the season.
It's exciting. It's definitely exciting. Yeah, no, definitely. There's obviously only a point between them, so again, I think it's just who can keep their necks in front. If Bonnyrigg can just keep edging ahead of Armadale, picking up their results, then I don't think anyone can grudge either of those two winning the league. I think they've been the top two teams the whole season. They've done well in the Championship and League One Cup as well. So yeah, they would be two really good additions to the Championship if they both ended up going up. But yeah, it's a really exciting end to the League One season.
And they play each other on the last day of the season at Bonnyrigg. So not that I'm not asking for much, but if they both are neck and neck get into the last day, I think that's certainly one we can keep an eye on.
Yeah, definitely. I think that will draw a good crowd as well.
Yeah, other games in that league, obviously, Giffnut won 6-1 away to Dundee West. I don't think there's a relegation in that league. Are you aware of that? I haven't heard
Yeah,
anything.
so
Is there?
there's a relegation and a playoff again.
Right, okay.
So the bottom team goes straight down, second bottom. So it's weird. So there's obviously 5 recreational leagues below League One. So they've all been drawn. So SWFL West, the winner of that, which is Bishopton, will play the winner of SWFL East, and then Central will play someone else, and then whoever else is left will play second bottom in League One, and then it'll go to a semi-final and then a final. So it's pretty confusing when it gets to that stage, just because there's so many leagues.
Scottish football, it always is.
Yeah, definitely, and it's never easy, never straightforward.
But we do have some good action this weekend in SWPL. We've got 2 massive derbies where could be proved quite pivotal. I think next weekend could be massive in terms of the destination of the title. We'll get the predictor going. You've beat me the past couple of times. I'm hoping I can turn that around this week. Let's start on Sunday with the Edinburgh Derby at Meadowbank. Game on 3 games in TV, so again, like a Super Sunday as such. Hibs versus Hearts. What do you think?
I'm going 2-0 Hibs.
Okay, I'm going to go for 3-1 Hibs. I think Hibs will win. I'm pretty confident they'll keep it going. Aberdeen versus Spartans. I'm going to go 1-1.
I'm going to go 1-0 Aberdeen.
Okay. I think Glasgow City Motherwell will be 4-0 City.
I was going to say 4-0 City as well.
Okay. Queen's Park Montrose.
I'm going to go 1-1.
Okay. I think Montrose will have too much. I'm going to go 2-1 Montrose. I think Partick will beat Dundee United 1-0. I think that will be quite a tight game, but I think Partick will just have enough.
I think it'll be 3-1 Partick.
Okay. And at 4:10 on BBC Alba, Rangers versus Celtic. What do you think? These games are so hard to pick.
1-0 Rangers, I think.
Okay.
I think they'll just edge it.
I'm going to go for a wee Desmond. I think it'll be 2-2. I think there's so many goals. I think Celtic probably out the title race, but I think they'll certainly want to have an impact on making sure it doesn't go to Rangers. Lauren, thank you very much as always. We'll be back next week for what will promise to be a fascinating weekend in the leagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Brilliant. And we'll see you all soon. Thank you.